Hi, I'm Linda. Before I get into the thick of some serious family drama, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button if you want to see how this all plays out. At 41, I faced an unexpected twist in my life, not just with my husband Jacob, but with his family as well. What was meant to be a joyous occasion when we bought our dream home quickly spiraled into something far more complicated. Here's the scene. Jacob and I were basking in the joy of our new home, which we had imagined as a tranquil retreat from the chaos of the outside world. But of course, Jacob's family had other plans. His mother and sister have always been insufferably entitled, acting as though Jacob's every success should be shared with them. My mother-in-law, in particular, has a knack for overstepping boundaries, and my sister-in-law is always scheming behind the scenes. Just as we were settling in and relishing our achievement, we were hit with an unexpected bombshell. My mother-in-law made a shocking proposal. She demanded that Jacob and I give up our new home to make room for her other son, his wife, and their growing family, who are now expecting their 7th child. She justified it with claims of their financial difficulties and the impending baby. No warning, no discussion, just a flat-out demand. "I don't understand, Mom," Jacob said during one of our family dinners, his confusion and irritation unmistakable. "Why would you think we'd agree to something like this without even discussing it with us first?" Jacob's mother, ever ready with an answer, tried to downplay the situation. "Well, it seemed obvious to me. You have the space, and they need it more right now. And you thought it was acceptable to decide what we should do with our home without even asking us." I couldn't mask my frustration. Her presumption was beyond infuriating. "It's family, Linda. You support family," she snapped, as if it were the most self-evident thing in the world. "But at what cost?" I fired back. "We worked tirelessly for this. It's our home, not a temporary haven for anyone who needs it." The conversation quickly escalated as Jacob's sister joined in, backing up their mother. "You can always find another place. This is about my brother and his kids. But why should we be the ones to move?" Jacob countered, his frustration evident. "We planned and saved for years to buy this house." The argument dragged on, each exchange thickening the tension in the air. It was clear that we were at an impasse, not only about the house but also about respect and boundaries. Jacob and I held our ground, resolute against what felt like an orchestrated assault. This house symbolized our future and stability, and we weren't about to relinquish it to meet unreasonable demands. As the evening drew to a close, the divide between us had widened. Jacob and I were more determined than ever to chart our own course, rather than bowing to the relentless pressure from his family. It was a pivotal moment for us, marking the beginning of the conflicts we knew lay ahead. "No, Mom, we can't let you dictate our lives like this. It's not fair to Linda or to me," Jacob said firmly, though the strain was evident in his voice. "Jacob, this is about family helping family. Why can't you understand that?" His mother retorted, her voice growing louder with each word. "I understand that, but not at the cost of our own happiness and stability." "You're asking too much," I interrupted, my frustration boiling over. "You want us to give up our home simply because you've decided it's the right thing to do." "Exactly. You have the means to help," Jacob's sister chimed in, leaning forward with a steely gaze. "And what, are you just going to sit back and let your nieces and nephews suffer? That's not fair, and you know it." I shot back, "It's not about the means. It's about making our own choices. We can't be the emergency solution for every family crisis." The room fell into a heavy silence, the tension palpable. Jacob took a deep breath, his gaze shifting between his sister and mother. "You both need to understand something," Jacob said slowly and deliberately. "Linda and I are a family too. Our decisions are ours to make, not yours to dictate." "Jacob, I'm your mother. I thought you'd want to support your brother in his time of need," his mother said, her tone softening as she tried a different approach. "I would help him, but not by giving up our home. There are other ways to support family without compromising our own needs," Jacob said, standing his ground. "Yeah, right. Like what? You have one of the biggest houses. It's easy for you to say no from your cozy, comfortable home," Sarah retorted, her frustration clear. "We worked hard for this, Sarah." "You know that," I said, trying to maintain some peace while still holding firm. "We planned and saved for years. Why should we give all that up just because family is supposed to come first?" "It does, but so do our marriage and our future," Jacob replied firmly. "We're open to helping in other ways, but not at the expense of our home." The debate dragged on, with neither side willing to give an inch. Jacob and I understood this was a pivotal moment in our relationship with his family. If we conceded now, it would set a precedent for constantly prioritizing their needs over our own. After a long and exhausting discussion, it became clear that their perspective was unshakable. They viewed our home as a quick fix for their issues, rather than acknowledging it as our hard-earned accomplishment. "Look, we're not going to resolve this tonight," Jacob said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "You need to go. We'll discuss it further when things have calmed down." His mother and sister gathered their things, their faces set with anger and disappointment. As the door shut behind them, it felt like a solid barrier, one that might be hard to breach again. Yet in that moment, Jacob and I knew we had made the right decision for ourselves and our future. It was a painful but necessary realization. We settled back into our seats, the silence now a sharp contrast to the heated exchange that had just transpired. Though we were together, and that felt reassuring, the calm was fleeting. Jacob and I knew it was only a temporary reprieve, a brief pause before the storm that was sure to follow. As anticipated, our peace was soon shattered by a loud knock that interrupted our tranquility one afternoon. I glanced through the window, my stomach dropping as I saw Jacob's mother and sister standing at our doorstep, their expressions resolute. "Jacob, they're here," I called out, struggling to keep the anxiety out of my voice. He sighed deeply, his weariness evident. "Let's face this together, Linda," he said. We opened the door, standing firm on our own threshold. "You need to leave. You're not welcome here. If you don't, I'll have to call the police," I said firmly, my heart racing but my voice resolute. "You're really going to call the police on your own family over a house?" Jacob's sister spat, her voice laced with contempt. "It's not just about the house. It's about respect, something you've consistently failed to show us," Jacob shot back, his resolve unwavering. "We're your family. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" His mother added, a mix of anger and desperation in her voice. "Family doesn't exploit each other like this. We offered other solutions, but you refused them." "There's nothing more to discuss," I said firmly, my tone echoing Jacob's earlier determination. "We have nowhere else to go. Think of the children," his sister pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. "The children deserve stability, but that doesn't come at the expense of ours," Jacob replied, his voice softening just a bit, but his resolve unshaken. The conversation grew more heated as they refused to leave, their demands growing increasingly insistent. "You owe us this after everything we've done for you. What you've done is manipulate and exploit my generosity. No, we're done. You need to leave now, or I'm calling the police," I said, reaching for my phone. Seeing the seriousness of our stance, they finally backed down, but not before throwing a few more hurtful remarks. "You'll regret this. You're tearing this family apart," Jacob's sister shouted as they stormed away. We closed the door and leaned against it, the weight of the confrontation leaving us both feeling drained. "Are we making the right choice?" I whispered, doubt gnawing at me. "Yes, we are, Linda. It's tough, but it's necessary for us, for our future," Jacob reassured me, drawing me into a comforting embrace. The rest of the day was spent in quiet reflection, the echoes of our confrontation still resonating. Despite the lingering guilt and pain, we felt a sense of righteousness in asserting our boundaries. We understood that the conflict might not be over, but we were prepared to protect our peace at any cost. The uneasy calm that followed felt fragile, like the calm before a storm. Jacob and I knew it was only a matter of time before more trouble would come. Our prediction proved accurate when, late one evening as we were watching a movie in an attempt to reclaim some normalcy, my phone started buzzing incessantly. When I checked, I found multiple missed calls and messages from unknown numbers. The content was disturbingly familiar, thinly veiled threats and accusations, clearly orchestrated by Jacob's sister. "If you think you've won, you're mistaken. This isn't over," the message read. I handed the phone to Jacob, who looked increasingly concerned as he read through the threats and accusations. "This is harassment. We can't just ignore it," he said, frustration evident in his voice. "Let's avoid giving them the reaction they're aiming for. We should document everything and consult a lawyer tomorrow," I suggested, trying to stay practical despite my rising anxiety. The next morning, we met with a lawyer and explained the situation while showing the messages. "Keep detailed records and consider seeking a restraining order if this continues," the lawyer advised. This is no longer just family conflict, it's escalating into harassment. Armed with legal advice, we felt a bit more empowered, but the strain of the family conflict was weighing heavily on us. That afternoon, as we discussed our next steps, Jacob received a call from his mother. "You've gone too far, bringing in lawyers. Can't we just resolve this like a family?" she pleaded through the speakerphone. "Mom, we made an effort to address this calmly, but you and Sarah crossed the line with those messages. We're taking the necessary steps to protect ourselves," Jacob replied, his voice tinged with both sadness and determination. "But we're family. Doesn't that mean anything? Why can't we resolve this among ourselves?" Her voice wavered, revealing her desperation. "Family doesn't threaten each other. We asked for respect, but instead, we faced harassment. That's why it's crucial to set firm boundaries," Jacob responded. I joined Jacob in supporting his stance. The call ended with his mother in tears, but Jacob remained resolute. "Linda, I hate that it's come to this, but I feel like we have no other choice." "I understand, Jacob. It's tough, but we have to protect our peace." That evening, we took extra steps to secure our home, installing cameras and updating our security system. It was disheartening to accept that such measures were necessary, but our priority was our safety and well-being. As days turned into weeks, the tension eased. The messages stopped, and the silence from Jacob's family, though bittersweet, brought a sense of relief. We started to rediscover the joy in our home, spending our evenings remodeling the kitchen, tending to the garden, and enjoying movies without the looming threat of conflict. Through it all, the challenges we faced only strengthened our bond, reinforcing our commitment to protect our marriage and home against any opposition. Despite the difficulties, we stayed united, a testament to our love and resilience. The newfound quiet that settled over our home allowed Jacob and me to finally relax, savoring the sanctuary we had fought so hard to defend. However, that peace was interrupted one crisp morning when a familiar car pulled into our driveway. It was Jacob's mother, alone this time, her expression solemn and uncertain as she approached our front door. As Jacob opened the door, the tension was palpable. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Jacob asked cautiously, his tone guarded to avoid reopening old wounds. "I've come to apologize," she began, her voice wavering slightly. "I've had a lot of time to reflect on everything that's happened." I listened quietly, watching her with a mix of curiosity and apprehension, wondering where this unexpected visit might lead. "Jacob, I see now how wrong I was to try and force your hand, to push Sarah's problems onto you. It wasn't fair," she admitted, glancing between us as if seeking forgiveness. "It took a lot for you to come here and say that," Jacob acknowledged, his tone softening. "What brought about this change of heart?" "I missed you, and seeing Sarah start to take responsibility for her own family made me realize I need to do the same," she explained, her eyes glistening with emotion. "I appreciate your apology, Mom. It means a lot to hear you say that," Jacob responded, his voice reflecting a hint of old warmth. Turning to me, she added, "And Linda, I'm sorry for all the stress I caused you. I hope in time you can forgive me too." "Thank you. That's all we ever wanted, to be treated with respect," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders, though I remained cautious about the future. "Can we start fresh? Maybe not exactly as before, but at least somewhere new." She looked at us, hopeful but uncertain. "Can we try?" she asked. "We can," Jacob agreed. "But it's going to need to be a gradual process. Trust has to be rebuilt." "Of course, I understand. I'll respect your boundaries, I promise," she said earnestly. With that, she left, her visit brief but significant. After she drove away, Jacob and I shared a quiet moment, reflecting on the possibility of mending the strained relationship that had once seemed irreparable. "Do you think she was sincere?" I asked, still absorbing the morning's unexpected turn. "I want to believe she was. People can change, right?" Jacob replied, hopeful yet cautious. "We'll see. Actions speak louder than words," I said, acknowledging the past still felt too fresh to fully embrace optimism. As days turned into weeks, our initial skepticism slowly gave way to cautious optimism. Jacob's mother kept her promise, respecting our boundaries and making genuine efforts to repair the fractured relationship. She reached out before visits and showed a sincere interest in our lives without overstepping. This positive shift extended beyond our interactions with her. It also strengthened our marriage. The trials we faced with his family have fortified our bond, demonstrating that together we could confront challenges and emerge stronger. We really made it through, didn't we? Jacob remarked one evening as we relaxed in our garden, savoring the tranquility of our hard-earned sanctuary. We did, and we'll face whatever comes next together, I affirmed, squeezing his hand. The setting sun bathed us in a warm glow, symbolizing a fresh start in our lives. The story has reached its conclusion, with Linda and Jacob successfully navigating challenging family dynamics to find peace. Now, I'd like to hear from all of you. Is it possible to genuinely rebuild trust after such deep family conflicts, or are some rifts too profound to fully heal? What's your perspective on offering second chances in situations like these?